In 1513, a disgraced diplomat sat in exile, stripped of power, tortured, humiliated. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli, and in that darkness he wrote something that would haunt the world for centuries.
The Prince. But here's what most people don't know. Machiavelli didn't write it to teach politics. He wrote it to reveal human nature. The real human nature. The one we hide behind smiles and social contracts. The one we pretend doesn't exist. And what he discovered was so brutal, so unforgiving, that 500 years later, we still call his name synonymous with evil. But was he evil, or did he simply tell the truth no one wanted to hear? Tonight we stop pretending. We stop playing by rules that only make you weak. We explore the darkest lessons of Machiavelli, the ones they don't teach, the ones that actually work. This is the Hidden Codex. Niccolò Machiavelli, 1469 to 1527. Florentine diplomat, political theorist, master strategist. For 14 years, he served the Republic of Florence, negotiating with kings, commanding armies, shaping the fate of nations. But in 1512, everything collapsed. The Medici family returned to power. Machiavelli was arrested, tortured, exiled to his small farm outside Florence, forgotten by history, or so they thought. Because in that exile, stripped of everything, Machiavelli did something extraordinary. He stopped lying. He stopped pretending that power worked the way people said it worked. And he wrote down what he actually saw. Not what should be, but what is. The Prince wasn't a guide for tyrants, it was a mirror, held up to humanity. And most people, when they looked into it, couldn't stand what they saw. So they called him evil. They banned his book. They turned his name into a curse. But the powerful, they read it in secret. They studied it. They applied it. Because they knew something the masses didn't. Machiavelli wasn't teaching immorality. He was teaching reality. Before we go deeper, let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like you're the only one playing fair? Like everyone else knows the rules of a game you don't even know exists? If you're tired of losing while pretending to be good, this channel is for you. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because here at the Hidden Codex, we don't teach you what sounds nice. We teach you what works. Now let's continue. Machiavelli observed something that most people refuse to accept. He saw that human beings are not naturally good. We like to think we are. We build entire philosophies around it. We create systems assuming people will do the right thing. But Machiavelli watched. He watched leaders rise and fall. He watched alliances form and crumble. He watched good men destroyed and cruel men triumph. And he wrote, "Men are ungrateful, fickle, liars and deceivers, avoidant of danger, greedy for profit." Not sometimes, always. This is the foundation, the bedrock of Machiavellian thought. And once you accept it, everything changes. Because if people are naturally self-interested, naturally deceptive, naturally weak, then morality isn't a strategy, it's a handicap. Machiavelli didn't celebrate this, he simply stated it, like a scientist observing nature, without judgment, without hope. And here's what that means in practice. Let's say you trust someone, a friend, a business partner, a lover. You believe they have your best interest at heart. You operate with transparency, honesty, fairness, and then, when it benefits them, they betray you. Most people are shocked, devastated. They ask, how could they do this? But if you understand Machiavelli, you're not surprised. Because you never expected loyalty in the first place. You expected self-interest, and you planned accordingly. That's not cynicism. That's clarity. Machiavelli wrote in a private letter, "I love my city more than my soul." Think about that. More than his soul. More than his salvation. Because he understood something crucial. In the real world, in the world of action and consequence, purity is a luxury. And luxuries get you killed. Most people believe power comes from being loved, from being kind, from building goodwill. Machiavelli destroyed that illusion with one line. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But here's what people miss. He didn't say, be cruel for cruelty's sake. He said, understand what actually controls human behavior. And what controls human behavior isn't affection, it's consequence. Love is conditional. It depends on feelings, and feelings change. People love you when you're useful, when you make them feel good, when you give them what they want. But the moment you stop, the love evaporates. Fear is different. Fear is reliable. Fear is a contract written in survival instinct. A feared leader doesn't need to inspire, doesn't need to charm, doesn't need to be liked. Because the people around him know one thing: there are consequences for betrayal. But here's the real secret Machiavelli revealed. The truly powerful are neither loved nor feared. They're invisible. Because the moment people know you have power, they start trying to take it. The greatest leaders, the ones who endure, operate in the shadows. They let others take credit. They let others be seen. And while everyone watches the puppet, they control the strings. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. This is the law of appearance. Your reputation is not who you are. It's a tool, a weapon, a shield, and the wise know how to craft it deliberately." Most people try to be authentic. They think showing their true self builds trust. But Machiavelli saw that authenticity is a cage. Because once people know who you are, they know how to manipulate you. They know your weaknesses, your desires, your limits. So what do you do instead? You control the narrative. You show people what you want them to see. Not lies necessarily, but selective truth, calculated transparency. You reveal enough to seem genuine, but never enough to be vulnerable. This isn't deception, it's strategy. Here's a modern example. Two entrepreneurs pitch the same investor. One is completely honest. He shares his doubts, his failures, his fears. He thinks this builds trust. The other is strategic. He shares challenges, yes, but frames them as learning experiences. He shows confidence without arrogance, competence without desperation. Who gets the funding? The second one. Every time. Not because he lied, but because he understood what Machiavelli knew. People don't invest in truth. They invest in belief. Now here's where Machiavelli becomes truly dark. He said, "A prince must learn how not to be good, and to use this knowledge or not according to necessity." Read that again. Learn how not to be good, not be evil, not abandon morality, but learn how. Because sometimes in the real world, goodness gets you destroyed. And if you can't set aside your principles when survival demands it, you won't survive. Most people hear this and recoil. They think Machiavelli is saying, be a monster. He's not. He's saying, understand that monsters exist, and if you fight them with kindness, you lose. Imagine you're in a position of leadership. You discover someone in your inner circle is plotting against you. Quietly, carefully. If you're good, really good, you give them a chance. You confront them. You try to understand. You offer forgiveness. And what happens? They smile, apologize, and the moment your back is turned, they strike, because you showed weakness. But if you understand Machiavelli, you act differently. Swiftly, decisively, without hesitation. You remove the threat before it grows, not out of cruelty, out of necessity. Because in the world of power, mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. Machiavelli watched leaders fall because they were too kind, too trusting, too moral, and he watched ruthless leaders endure. Not because ruthlessness is good, but because it's effective. He wrote, "Men ought either to be well treated or crushed because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries, but of more serious ones they cannot." This is the law of totality. If you're going to act against someone, don't half-measure it. Don't wound them and leave them alive, because a wounded enemy is the most dangerous enemy. They remember, they plot, they wait, and when you least expect it, they destroy you. So if you must act, act completely, decisively, finally. This sounds harsh. It is harsh. But Machiavelli wasn't writing for saints. He was writing for survivors. Let's talk about something uncomfortable. Machiavelli said that cruelty used correctly can be merciful. He called it well-used cruelty. And here's what he meant. A leader who is too lenient, too forgiving, creates chaos, because people learn there are no consequences. Crime spreads, disorder grows, and eventually, many suffer. But a leader who uses swift, decisive punishment stops the disorder before it spreads. Yes, one person suffers, but hundreds, thousands are saved. That's the paradox. Sometimes a single act of ruthlessness prevents mass suffering. Machiavelli watched Cesare Borgia, one of the most feared men in Italy. Borgia conquered a region plagued by crime and corruption. And what did he do? He appointed a brutal governor, a man named Ramiro de Orco. De Orco crushed dissent, executed criminals publicly, terrified the population, and within months the region was pacified, order restored. But then Borgia did something brilliant. He had de Orco executed in the town square, cut in half, left for everyone to see. Why? To satisfy the people's anger, to distance himself from the cruelty, to appear merciful while reaping the benefits of brutality. Machiavelli called this genius, because Borgia understood something most leaders don't. You can use cruelty, but you can't be seen as cruel. You have to let someone else be the monster. And then, when the job is done, you destroy the monster. The people love you, and order remains. That's not evil, that's mastery. Cold, calculated, effective mastery. Here's a principle Machiavelli returned to again and again. Fortune favors the bold, not the prepared, not the wise. The bold. He wrote, "Fortune is a woman, and it is necessary, if you wish to master her, to conquer her by force." Now, before anyone misinterprets, he's not talking about actual women. He's talking about fate, about chance, about the unpredictable nature of reality. And what he's saying is this: passivity loses, hesitation loses, waiting for the perfect moment loses, because the perfect moment never comes. Machiavelli believed that half of life is determined by fortune, the other half by will, and the people who succeed are the ones who impose their will on fortune, who act when others wait, who take risks when others calculate, who strike when the opportunity appears, not when it's safe. This is why Machiavelli admired men of action over men of thought. Thinkers analyze, actors shape reality. Here's how this works in the modern world. Two people see the same opportunity. One thinks about it, weighs the risks, considers all possible outcomes, plans meticulously, and by the time he's ready to act, the opportunity is gone. The other person sees it, recognizes the potential, and moves, immediately, imperfectly, without full information, and he wins, not because he was smarter, but because he was faster. Machiavelli would tell you, better to act and fail than to wait and lose by default, because action creates options. Inaction creates nothing. Now let's talk about something Machiavelli understood that most people miss: the importance of timing. He said, "A prince must imitate the fox and the lion, for the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." This is the principle of duality. Most people think you have to choose: be strong or be clever, be aggressive or be cunning. Machiavelli said no, you have to be both, and you have to know when to be which. The fox is strategic, patient, deceptive. The fox avoids direct confrontation. He studies his enemies, finds their weaknesses, sets traps, and when the moment is right, strikes from the shadows. The lion is direct, powerful, fearless. The lion doesn't hide, he roars. He dominates through sheer force, and when threatened, he doesn't negotiate, he destroys. The master, according to Machiavelli, knows when to be the fox and when to be the lion. He doesn't commit to one identity. He flows between them, adapting to the situation, reading the context, choosing the approach that wins. Let's say you're in a negotiation. Your opponent is stronger, has more resources, more leverage. If you play the lion, you lose. But if you play the fox, you can win. You flatter. You make them feel powerful. You let them think they're in control. And slowly, subtly, you shift the terms. You plant ideas. You create doubt. And by the end, they agree to your terms, thinking it was their idea. That's the fox. But now imagine a different scenario. Someone challenges you publicly, tries to humiliate you, undermine your authority. If you play the fox, you look weak, so you play the lion. Swift, brutal, public retaliation. You crush the challenge so completely that no one dares try again. That's the lion. Machiavelli didn't moralize about this. He simply observed, the powerful know how to shift, the weak stay rigid, and rigidity breaks. Here's one of the most misunderstood aspects of Machiavelli. People think he said, "The ends justify the means." He never wrote that, but he believed something close. He believed that in matters of state, of survival, of power, Results are what matter. Not intentions, not process, results. Because history doesn't remember your motives. It remembers what you accomplished. Machiavelli wrote, "In the actions of all men, and especially of princes, the end justifies the means when there is no court to appeal to." What does that mean? It means when you're operating in a space without higher authority, without rules, without judges, the only measure of success is success itself. Did you protect your people? Did you secure your position? Did you achieve your goal? If yes, the method is irrelevant. This is what separates leaders from philosophers. Philosophers debate the perfect path. Leaders take the path that works. And sometimes the path that works is brutal, deceptive, ruthless. But if the alternative is destruction, if the alternative is chaos, then Machiavelli would say, do what must be done, and don't apologize for it, because apology is weakness, and weakness invites attack. Here's a modern application. A CEO discovers that one of his executives is embezzling, quietly, carefully, covering tracks. If the CEO plays by the rules, he opens an investigation. Lawyers get involved. Months pass, and during that time, the executive continues stealing, maybe even sabotaging the company out of spite. But if the CEO understands Machiavelli, he acts differently. He gathers evidence quietly, and then one day, without warning, the executive is gone, fired, escorted out. No drama, no trial, no second chances. The message is clear, and no one else tries. Is that fair? Maybe not. Is it legal? Depends on how it's done. But is it effective? Absolutely. And in the world of business, of power, of survival, effectiveness is the only currency that matters. Machiavelli observed that people are more easily deceived than they think. He wrote, "Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that one who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived." This is the uncomfortable truth. People want to believe. They want to trust. They want to think the best of others. And that desire makes them vulnerable. The manipulator doesn't need elaborate schemes. He just needs to tell people what they want to hear, promise them what they desire, and they'll believe him, even when the evidence says otherwise. Even when their instincts scream danger, because hope is more powerful than logic, and fear of being wrong is more powerful than the desire to be right. Machiavelli didn't judge this. He used it. Because if you understand human psychology, you can shape behavior, you can influence decisions, you can make people choose what you want them to choose, all while believing it was their idea. Here's how this plays out today. A politician promises change, real change. He talks about fighting corruption, draining swamps, serving the people, and people believe him, not because the evidence supports it, but because they want it to be true. They're tired, desperate, and desperation makes you believe, so they vote for him, support him, defend him. And when he inevitably fails, when the corruption continues, when nothing changes, they don't blame themselves for being deceived. They blame the system, the opposition, the invisible forces, and the cycle repeats. Machiavelli would say, this is not a flaw in democracy. This is human nature, and human nature doesn't change. Now here's where Machiavelli becomes truly chilling. He said that a wise leader creates the image of virtue, but doesn't actually practice it. Listen to this carefully. It is not necessary for a prince to have all the virtues, but it is very necessary to appear to have them. Appear, not be. Because being virtuous, truly virtuous, requires sacrifice, requires restraint, requires putting others first. And in the world of power, that gets you killed. But appearing virtuous, that's easy and incredibly effective. You speak about justice while bending rules in private. You talk about compassion while eliminating threats behind closed doors. You present yourself as a man of the people while serving your own interests. And as long as the public sees the image, they believe it. Because most people judge by appearances. They don't have access to your private actions, your inner thoughts, your true motives. They only see what you show them, so show them virtue, and practice whatever is necessary in the shadows. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince should seem to be merciful, faithful, humane, religious, and honest, and actually to be so, but he should have his mind so trained that, when it is necessary not to practice these virtues, he can change to the opposite. This is the ultimate flexibility, the ability to be good when it serves you, and ruthless when survival demands it, without internal conflict, without guilt, with pure, cold calculation. Most people can't do this. They're trapped by their self-image. They need to see themselves as good, and that need makes them weak. But Machiavelli is asking you, would you rather be good or effective? Would you rather feel moral or achieve your goals? Would you rather die with clean hands or live with power? Because you can't have both. Not in this world. Not when others are playing to win. Let's talk about alliances. Machiavelli had a rule: never trust an alliance based on words alone. He wrote, "Friendships that are obtained by payments may be bought, but they are not secured, and in time of need cannot be relied upon." In other words, loyalty bought with money is not loyalty. It's a transaction. And the moment someone offers more, your ally becomes your enemy. Real alliances, according to Machiavelli, are based on mutual benefit, not affection, not shared values. Benefit: you have something I need. I have something you need. As long as that equation holds, we work together. The moment it shifts, the alliance dissolves. This is why Machiavelli never trusted promises, never relied on contracts, never believed in honor among thieves. Because when survival is on the line, people do what benefits them, every time. Here's a practical example. Two companies form a partnership. They sign agreements, make public statements, toast to collaboration. But behind the scenes, both are looking for an advantage. Both are protecting their interests. Both are preparing for the moment when the partnership no longer serves them. And the smart ones, the Machiavellian ones, are already planning their exit. Not out of cynicism, out of realism, because if you're not prepared for betrayal, you're inviting it. Machiavelli would tell you, maintain alliances, yes, but never depend on them. Never let your survival hinge on another person's loyalty, because the only loyalty you can truly count on is your own. Everything else is temporary. Now here's a principle that will make you uncomfortable. Machiavelli believed that sometimes you have to destroy people to save yourself, not out of malice, out of necessity. He wrote, "If an injury has to be done to a man, it should be so severe that his vengeance need not be feared. This is the law of finality. If you move against someone, do it completely. Don't leave them alive and angry. Don't wound them and hope they forgive, because they won't." This doesn't mean kill them literally. It means remove them so thoroughly from your sphere that they can't retaliate. Cut off their resources, destroy their reputation, eliminate their influence, make them irrelevant. Harsh, yes. Necessary, sometimes. Because the alternative is living in fear, always looking over your shoulder, always wondering when they'll strike back. Machiavelli watched merciful leaders fall. He watched forgiving leaders destroyed by the very people they forgave. And he concluded, mercy, in the wrong context, is suicide. Here's a modern scenario. An employee is toxic, spreads rumors, undermines morale, creates division. A weak leader talks to them, gives warnings, offers chances to improve, and the toxicity continues. It spreads. The best people leave. The culture decays. But a Machiavellian leader acts once, swiftly. The toxic employee is terminated, publicly, decisively. And the message is clear. This behavior ends here. The rest of the team breathes easier. Productivity rises. Trust rebuilds. One person suffers, but the organization thrives. That's the calculation Machiavelli forces you to make. One for many. Ruthlessness for stability. Cruelty for order. Let's talk about reputation. Machiavelli said your reputation is more valuable than your character, because people don't know your character. They only know your reputation. And reputation is built through perception, through stories, through what others say about you. So control the narrative, shape the story, decide what people believe. He wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because it belongs to everybody to see you, to few to come in touch with you. Everyone can see your public persona. Only a few know the real you. So make the public persona impeccable. Let the masses admire you, fear you, respect you, and let the few who truly know you be either loyal or powerless to harm you." This is why Machiavelli advised leaders to perform virtue publicly. Give to the poor where cameras can see. Speak about justice in public forums. Display humility in front of crowds. Not because you feel it, but because it builds the image, and the image protects you. Because when accusations come, and they always come, people won't believe them. They'll say, "Not him. I've seen his character. I know who he is." And they'll defend you, not because they actually know you, but because they believe in the image you created. That's power. That's Machiavellian brilliance. Here's something that will challenge everything you've been taught. Machiavelli said that generosity can destroy you. He wrote, "Liberality exercised in a way that does not bring you the reputation for it injures you." In other words, if you're generous in private, it doesn't help you. And if you're too generous publicly, you'll go broke. So what's the solution? Be strategic with generosity. Give publicly when it builds your reputation. Give in ways that create loyalty and obligation, but never give so much that you weaken yourself. Because the moment you're weak, the people you helped will abandon you. This sounds cruel. It is cruel. But Machiavelli observed that gratitude doesn't last. People appreciate what you give them in the moment, but memory fades, need returns, and soon they're asking for more. If you keep giving, they see you as a resource to be exploited. If you stop, they resent you. You can't win through generosity alone, so use it tactically, as a tool, not as a virtue. Help those who can help you in return. Ignore those who can't. Because in the game of power, resources are finite, and wasting them on the powerless is a luxury you can't afford. Now let's talk about fear. Real fear. Machiavelli understood that fear is a tool, but it has to be used correctly. He said, "A prince should make himself feared in such a way that if he does not gain love, he at least avoids hatred. Because hatred is dangerous. Hatred makes people reckless, willing to sacrifice themselves to hurt you. So inspire fear, yes, but not through cruelty for cruelty's sake. Through consistency, through decisiveness, through the absolute certainty that crossing you has consequences. Here's the balance. You punish swiftly when lines are crossed, but you don't punish randomly. You don't terrorize, because terror creates desperation, and desperate people are unpredictable, dangerous. Instead, you create clarity, clear rules, clear consequences, and then you enforce them without exception. People learn, they adapt, they respect the boundary, and they fear crossing it. Not because they hate you, but because they understand the cost. That's sustainable fear. That's Machiavellian fear. Let me tell you about Machiavelli's final years. After writing The Prince, he tried to return to political life. He sent the manuscript to Lorenzo de' Medici, hoping it would earn him favor. It didn't. He was ignored, rejected. He died in poverty, believing he had failed. But here's the irony. After his death, The Prince spread, quietly at first, banned by the church, condemned by scholars, but read by kings, by generals, by anyone who actually held power, because they recognized something the moralists didn't. Machiavelli wasn't teaching evil, he was teaching reality. And reality doesn't care about your ideals. It doesn't reward virtue for virtue's sake. It rewards understanding, strategy, the willingness to do what others won't. 5 centuries later, Machiavelli's insights remain true. Human nature hasn't changed. Power dynamics haven't changed. The game is the same. Only the players are new. And the players who win are the ones who understand what Machiavelli understood. That fairness is a myth. That morality is a luxury. That kindness without strength is weakness. And that the world belongs to those who take it. So here's the final question Machiavelli poses to you. Not in his book, but in the space between the lines, in the implications of everything he wrote. Are you willing to see the world as it actually is? Not as you wish it to be, not as you were taught it should be, but as it is. Cold, brutal, indifferent, a place where good people finish last, where the ruthless thrive, where power flows to those who understand its laws. Are you willing to stop playing fair when no one else is? Are you willing to set aside the comfortable lies and embrace the uncomfortable truth? Because that's what Machiavelli demands. Not that you become a monster, but that you stop pretending monsters don't exist, and stop pretending you can defeat them with kindness. Machiavelli died believing he had failed, but he gave us something more valuable than success. He gave us sight, the ability to see through the illusions, the masks, the performances, to recognize power for what it is, and to understand that if you want to survive, if you want to thrive, you have to play the game. Not the game you wish existed, the game that does exist. The game where only the ruthless win, and the fair lose everything. If this changed the way you see power, hit that like button. Subscribe to the Hidden Codex because we're just getting started. Next time, we explore Carl Jung's shadow, the dark side of the psyche, the part of you that you've been running from your whole life, and why Jung said confronting it is the only path to real power. You don't want to miss that. Until then, remember what Machiavelli knew. The world doesn't reward saints, it rewards survivors. Stay awake.